Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? It's Dakota Fishman here, and of course today we're going to be on my free-to-play baby account. Now, yeah, okay, it's kind of free-to-play. Anyway, I've had this account for about 3 years. So today we're just going to go over kind of some of the nicks for Coliseum. Obviously, I picked the stars based because, again, this is just picking on dwarves, so you're increasing HP and then defense. Now you can tell right away that fails. Why? Well, it boils down to the fact that your level, your tier, is going to have a big say in this. So obviously every time you go through the rolls, it's going to change, and it's going to vary. The thing about it is, right, is when you're starting out and you are doing Coliseum, you just want to go through it and you want to get down to you want to lower your ranking as far as you can. Now stick around, because I'm going to be showing how to do the limited challenge stage 1 and 2 in case you guys are still out there looking for it. Because again, we're just doing Coliseum, doing basically everything I do on my alternate account, basically all the time. Now, in case you're wondering, yeah, this is a food hyper, right? So a lot of the decisions I've made up to this point for it were either to make it a trap account or to make it a food hyper. Okay, so you can kind of see what my rationale is. And now, again, today I'm also going to be getting Demon Slayer upgraded, because part of the reason why you want to get Demon Slayer, if the reason isn't already obvious, is that basically if you have them, you have an advantage. Okay, it's a huge advantage. Now, part of the reason why I'm getting Oathkeeper up to Legendary is because, well, food. Okay, food production is really the best reason if there was any at all. At least for a food hyper, right? But now, the thing about it is, okay, and this is the key, all right, whenever you're trying to pick Constellation heroes, whether you're trying to pick free-to-play teams, the major problem that a lot of people often run into is like, okay, well, this team worked on this team. It's a level 60 gold, everybody's the same kind of thing. And they try it, and then they're like, well, it didn't work. Okay, so what do I do? What do I do? And the fact of the matter is, all right, is that a lot of the time you need to understand that when it comes to, countering teams in particular, there's, on that front, you have to deal with that in the Coliseum. But also the constellations, right? Because as the constellations change, certain particular heroes are going to get a slight buff. Okay? Now, the thing about it is, at least in my experience, because again, we're going to be going through as the weeks come along. I'm going to hopefully try to kind of guide you along what I would do. Now, of course, yeah, it's a tough thing, right? To be able to sit down, look at the constellations, look at the team, and then know exactly what to use to counter it. And to be honest with you, I really find that it's almost trial and error a lot of the time with the Coliseum, because you're having to, essentially, you have to take a gander at what you're able to do, because it's going to be different for everybody. And that's the thing, not everybody is at level 60. Not everybody has a legendary set of heroes. Not everybody has all of their heroes rank 8. Not everybody, and that's the thing. That's what makes it so difficult. So what I'm going to do is, as the weeks go along, I'm going to try and compare and contrast between, where I have, like, this account where, yeah, okay, the heroes are kind of bleh, right? They're not up to par. They're not good. However, it's more towards, the genre, I guess, of what people are dealing with, right? Because they might have some of these heroes maxed out, but not all of them are. And so they have a choice between, well, okay, do I use this green tier or this gray tier, or is it really worth it, against this team? And all of that stuff we're going to deal with, all right? Now, having that said, all right, essentially when it comes to actually going in and dealing with any particular hyper, right? Obviously, one of the things that I always do is make sure I get my guild quests in, I get my guild fests, my VIP quests, all that jazz. Because again, these are things that you do, right? Everybody starts out. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is I'm not accepting turf quests, because one thing that most people don't know is if you're really trying to be a trap account, you don't accept turf quests, period. So, and in case you guys have been waiting for the challenge stages that I promised you earlier, this is where we begin. So, again, the way I do it, okay, and then this is the key with stages, especially any stage, is you kind of need to be able to have a healer, right, which is the main importance of anything. You need to have a healer, okay, and the next thing is then you need to have high DPS. Now, one of the things that I knew going into this, right, is that Master Cook, in particular, that one thing that is key with him is that he's a physical base damage hero. Therefore, any hero that you put in tandem with him, he does a lot of DPS. So you're going to want to probably put him in tandem with heroes like, you know, you want to put him in tandem with like physical base damage heroes. In part because essentially what that does is just make the damage amplify that much more. Now, again, I thought it was a little weird, right? Because when I initially looked at him, I initially thought he was magic damage, but that didn't turn out to be the case. Now, having that said, all right, when you're doing the stages, it's all a timing thing at the end of the day. You'll notice I'm not trying to gun out the actual abilities right away. And one of the things that you're going to find out with the stages is those assassins you see back there that come up to the front, those do the most damage. So those we got to kill, and we got to kill them fast. Okay, now the ones that you see that are circling around the tank, don't worry about them. They don't do as much DPS. They're not the ones that we need to focus on. We got to make sure that we get the assassins out of the way first, and then we just prioritize from that point forward. Because ultimately, what that allows you to do then is you just like that. You can just very quickly zoom through them all without really having any effort wasted. Now, again, one of the things that's cool about Mole Shaman is Mole Shaman has a stun occasionally. So one of the things that, you know, you'll find that's really useful probably in the near future as the challenge stages continue to go up and up and up, right, is that, you know, when we have access to these, I want to call them, they're not heroes, right? They're basically familiars, or basically whatever you want to call them, you know, enemies that we usually fought in the chapters, right? Though there is something uniquely interesting about them, and that, you know, it's being able to use them. They're like, I tried to get those assassins early on and missed them. That doesn't make a big of a difference. It would have helped, but it certainly didn't make a vastly big difference. Now you can tell it's starting to get pretty close. So you go out to make sure you're popping that prima donna pretty fast, or otherwise you're going to lose it. That's the one consequence, right, with any particular team, and especially in challenge stages, is that you've got to be able to heal at those precise moments at which you absolutely need to. And that's all a timing thing. You know, in some ways you might screw the timing up and find yourself too far in or too far out. But like here, without a problem, at this point, it's just a matter of basically doing the DPS needed to kill the boss. And I'm not worried about losing my life at all. That's pretty much where you want to be when it comes to the stages. Now again, this is the first stage, so pretty easy, not a big deal, right? That gives us access to our first medal for Master Cook. Now, that's great and all for free-to-play, right? But again, it's going to take a lot of these to actually get it all the way. Now, here we've got Noceros and Master Cook. So again, they pair us up with a tank and a range. So what I decided to do is I put in a tank that has a stun, and then a healer, and then paired it once again up with Black Crow. Now, why I did that is because essentially what that allows me to do is it gives me the stun and the extra tank I need. And the benefit of Child of Light is that basically you've got yourself a temporary shield that'll occasionally pop. And now you can see there, I waited almost on the very last second. Now, in this case, in this stage, you want to get rid of the ranged in the back because they do an enormous ton of DPS. So kind of like with the assassins before, these guys are the ones that you want to make sure you get rid of as soon as reasonably possible, because they're the ones that ultimately, as the stages progress, it will get much more difficult. Now you can see I'm not full health by any means, right? But I'm not freaking out about it just yet because I pop a heal. And the one thing I make sure to do is I get rid of the range in the back. And I make no secret of it. Now, the cool thing about Noceros is that he has this area of effect that does a ton of damage in a wide area. That's absolutely fan-frickin-tastic for the stage. Now, again, it varies from time to time, right? You're not going to have the same, how do you say, the same instance is not going to happen every single time you go through the stages. But I can tell you, doing what I've done here, if you at least come close to, you know, getting at least what I'm doing to some extent, you'll be it won't be as difficult, right? It's more of a timing thing than it is anything else when it comes to this. But as you can tell, I get rid of the back line of ranged, and then essentially at this point, I'm trying to decide, okay, what do I need to stun? So I decided to get the 2 mid up in the front, because part of the problem that I'm going to have while I'm going through this stage, right, is that basically that is going to be like, it's basically you got to get rid of those. Otherwise, it's just going to be painful. So I went ahead, took the DPS that I could, got another range in the back, then decided to go for the next range and get that one as close to knocked out as I can. And again, it's a little bit of a trick, but obviously, just like that, boom, we got rid of it. And now at this point, it's just a matter of eliminating the extras and getting the tank killed. Without a doubt, easier than pie, basically, at this point, because we can stun him, we can heal, we're at this point, we're in a very healthy point. And that's how you do the second stage. Now, again, I'll hopefully keep up with the next stages as they come up. So stage 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. But now from this point forward, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to probably... Well, I wanted to rack up some, you know, to Elite 3-9, basically. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do my talents real fast. But, you know, obviously, you know, again, this is just some stuff that I have to do because, obviously, yeah, it's what you got to do when you get your hyper and stash. And in case you're wondering why I do this, is because, essentially, if you want to be able to rack up a lot of resources over a period of time, I really recommend that you either make an alternate account or at least try to start one, because the benefit of having an alternate is that you can then use it to basically feed yourself resources, which cuts down considerably on the amount that you need to pull from bags, and you really don't want to pull from bags if you really don't have to. Now, basically, I just do the research and the construction, making sure that I get rid of those as soon as I've done my food production, and at that point, basically, because I'm not training troops, right? This is not the purpose of this account right now. At that point, I thought, okay, well, might as well just increase gold production. Now, at this point, you know, the one thing that you really have to focus on, at least when it comes to actually, you know, with the stages and everything up to this point, right? You'll notice that, like, you know, as they progress, they're going to get more difficult, right? So I would always recommend that, you know, depending on what you're given, you always want to pair up Black Crow and potentially even like Scarlet Bolt with Master Cook, because it's kind of a healthy balance between those. Now, again, it's a matter of, you know, do you need a tank? Do you not need a tank? Do you need more, you know, do you need another healer? Those are kind of things that you're going to run into, but hopefully we'll get along around them as we go along, right? Now, in particular, very quickly, we're going to go ahead and do Elite Stage 3-9, so just for the sake of it, because I figured, you know, if anything, you guys are probably at least a little curious, right? Well, where am I in the Elite Stages? Well, right now, I just got through 3-6 not too long ago, so I'm going to 3-9, because again, when I was doing this account, I had basically done nothing but one stage until I got it, Bomb and Goblins and Legendary, and then I proceeded to then go over and I started to do the stage for, you know, Wesley. Okay, and basically, the thing is, in regards to, like, priority, right? At this point, I've pretty much taken that stash that I've had. At this point, I'm going to probably funnel it into Demon Slayer, because what you'll want Demon Slayer for in the coming weeks, hopefully, is you're going to want to use him in the Coliseum. He's one of the most useful heroes that you can have for the Coliseum. Now, I would say that if you're free to play, you're just starting out, obviously you can catch up. It's just going to take you a little bit of time, obviously, though, because getting up to level 48 is not going to happen overnight. But one of the things that you're going to find, and you'll find often, especially when you're working your way up through, is that you want to continue going through the stages. So, in my case, I want to make sure that I complement the current team setup that I have. So at this point, I've already got some magic heroes, so I might as well pull out and actually use Demon Slayer for this, because essentially what Demon Slayer is nice for, now obviously he's not so great towards the latter end, but because of the sheer amount of damage that we do, and in part because of the tier and also the level, it makes this challenge, like, remarkably easier. Okay, like, it will make your life a lot easier if you play it like that. In part because, you know, if you level up certain heroes at a certain point, eventually you can come back to the chapters and just breeze right through them without ever having any struggle whatsoever. So if you ask me, at least me personally, if you're free to play and you're just starting out, I really begin to think, you know, get yourself like Rose Knight, right? Get yourself, you know, a couple of heroes like Tracker and even Demon Slayer, and rank those up to like gold, and then, and only then, can you then start to actually go through, you know, Colosseum effectively, and you can even go through the chapters effectively. It's a lot easier in my opinion, but don't take my word for it. Obviously, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. And needless to say, check out these other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.